I'm happy to be here and looking forward to having you listen to us for about an hour. Have fun.
Ms. Mao?
Hi everyone, my name is Ingrid Mao and I'm the school counseling intern this year at Mills High School. So I've been working with the counseling team and I hope you guys all get the information you need tonight. And yeah, thank you.
And Ms. Louts?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here from my backyard tonight, but I just want to give a shout out to all the students that I see who've joined us tonight. We're glad you're here, and I want you to know that we miss you a lot. It's definitely been hard for us being away because we're the people that thrive off of the one-on-one contact and meeting with students every day. So that's been hard for us, but we miss you a lot. So we're glad to see you here on this webinar tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to see some familiar names as well. So thanks for joining us. So just a few details. First of all, I just want to make clear that tonight, 11th grade college planning night, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on students who are currently juniors planning to apply to four-year colleges this fall. I know a lot of our students are planning to maybe go to community college, but because the four-year college application process is a little more complex, we have a special night dedicated to just focusing on that. Another little piece of business, if you want, I'm going to be showing some slides. Hopefully in the chat box, you guys can all see there's also a link to tonight's presentation. So if if you want to be able to click on some of the hyperlinks in the presentation, you can open that and there should be, you should be able to actually look at some of the links, okay? The other thing is there will be a translated version of this presentation in Chinese that will be available on our website in a couple weeks. So if you need that, that will be coming. And then the last thing, a little piece of business is we are hoping for this to be interactive. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to click on the little Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom window. And you are welcome to ask questions, your questions. For now, only the counselors will be able to see your questions. It won't be public. But you know, if it's a good question or if it's a question that we feel like will be helpful to other people, we'll definitely pause and try to answer your question, or we might answer some of your questions privately via chat. So, so yeah, feel free to go ahead and send us your questions anytime throughout the presentation using the little Q&A, not the chat, but the Q&A button at the bottom, okay? So with that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. So I'm gonna share my screen. And so, okay. So again, these slides are on the Mills Counseling website, and then right now you can also click on the link in the chat box to view them. You know, anytime, I don't know if you've ever checked out our Mills Counseling website, but there's a lot of really helpful stuff on there. We do update that website very regularly, and so we have all of these presentations as well as the presentations that we gave in the classrooms to all the students earlier this spring. It's all there, so check it out. All right, so this is our agenda for tonight. So we have a lot to cover. We're going to try to go a little bit quickly, just because we know with the webinar format, you know, it's hard for people to like stay focused for a lot, you know, for too long. So we're going to try to keep it to an hour and end around 8 p.m. But the things we're going to go over, we're going to talk about changes to the fall 2020 admission process. There really are a lot of changes that are coming down the pipeline. And we want you to be aware of. Then we're going to go over the ACT and SAT exams. We're going to talk a little bit about how to build a college list. We're going to go over the college application process, how to pay for college, resources, and then at the end, if we have time, hopefully we'll have time for a little Kahoot quiz. I know a lot of our students know what that's about. So,
hey, Miss Mac.
Yeah.
Since we're recording this live tonight, and some of the things we're going to present, you know, are ever-changing news. Every day there's becoming new updates. Do you want to just reference the date of today just for the recording?
Sure. So today, and it's on the first slide as well, today's May 7th, 2020. So yes, so the information in this slide, in these slides is basically up to date as of today. Things are obviously subject to change. You know, obviously with the COVID crisis, there's a lot of moving parts and there's still a lot of things that are unknown as of today. But thanks for that reminder. So, so this is our college counseling team. We've already been introduced to all of our counselors, as well as some key staff. Ms. Murtaugh could not join us tonight, but she's a college and career advisor, and she's also a key person, resource on campus if you have questions about college and financial aid. Our staff assistant, Ms. Crowley, is also helps us out a lot. And then if you ever need a transcript, this is your man, Mr. Steinbrecher over here. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but, and then our CTE career coordinator is Ms. Woolsey. All right, so we're gonna start first by talking about what are some of the changes to the fall 2020 admissions process. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions. I hope most of you aren't feeling too anxious about it. I feel like most of the changes are really, I think a lot of colleges are being sensitive to the challenges that students are facing, and they're keeping that in mind. And so, so generally speaking, colleges are basically offering more flexibility. As I mentioned earlier, tonight's presentation does contain information as of May 7th. And again, these changes are really only relevant for this coming admission cycle, the fall, for students applying for fall 2021 freshman admission. I know there might be some freshmen or sophomores here tonight watching, but just know that some of these changes are they're not going to apply hopefully after next year. And ultimately, for the most up-to-date information, we encourage you to check each college's admissions website. Secondly, I just wanted to go over a few definitions before we dive in. So I know we tend to use a lot of lingo. So when we say UC, we're talking about the University of California. So there's 7 of them, like Davis, UC Santa Cruz. CSU stands for Cal State University. We've got 23 of them. So examples are like San Francisco State, Long Beach State. And so we talk a lot about UCs and CSUs because that's our 4-year college, our 4-year public college system in California, and it tends to be very popular for our students. So we really want to make sure that students understand the process for applying for UCs and CSUs. SAT and ACT are standardized exams that are typically required for college applicants. And then A to G courses. So what are A to G courses? Basically, A to G courses are classes in different subject areas that students have to complete with a C- or better to be eligible to apply to a UC or CSU, okay? And so I'm not gonna go over this slide in too much detail, but just a quick reminder, some of you might have seen this before. You can see our high school graduation requirements, and then the UC CSU A to G requirements. So you can see each letter corresponds to a different subject area. Students need to complete a certain number of years in each subject area to be eligible for UC CSU with a C- or better, okay? If you get below a C-, we encourage you to repeat that class for a higher grade. Okay, so again, counselors, feel free to jump in anytime if you see questions that people have, or if you wanna kind of pipe in. So big picture, how has the COVID-19 crisis impacted next year's admissions process? So many 4-year colleges have changed. First of all, their letter grade requirements for spring and summer 2020, and then also the SAT and ACT college testing requirements, okay? So regarding letter grade requirements for spring semester 2020, hopefully you guys are all aware that all Mill students are going to be graded on a on a credit, no credit basis, okay? So basically if they pass a class, usually it's like a 60% or above, they're going to earn credit. If they don't pass, it's no credit, and it won't affect their GPA. So either way, if they get credit or no credit, it will not impact the student's cumulative GPA. So at the end of this semester, whatever GPA students had as of, last semester, as of, I guess, January, it's going to remain the same. Okay. And so something really, I know a lot of families have been very anxious about how this might impact their students' competitiveness for college. And the reality is that, we've heard from many colleges that credit, no credit grading will not harm a student's admission chances. Even before this kind of crisis happened, colleges have always reviewed students' academic record in the context of their high school. Okay, so if they know that across the board, all students in your high school received either credit or no credit, they will not count that against you. Okay, and many colleges have actually come out already and made public statements that that's not going to harm students. Okay, including the UCs, the CSUs, USF, Stanford, and others. Okay. Some other updates specific to the UCs and CSUs. So the UCs are going to calculate students' GPA based on all available letter grades in A to G courses taken in 10th and 11th grade. Okay, and that includes summer, this summer. Although I heard that I think summer school in our district for this coming summer is probably going to be credit, no credit again. Now, because the UCs use what they call comprehensive review, they're going to continue to use additional criteria. So they're not just looking at your GPA and your grades, they're also looking at your course rigor, like how challenging are the classes that you're taking? Are you taking AP courses? They're looking at students' extracurriculars, they're looking at your essays, your personal statements. So there's a lot of things. So I think for students who are anxious, like, oh, they're going to be missing my letter grade from this semester, they're actually looking very holistically. And so there's a lot of other information that they're drawing from as well in order to determine whether or not to admit students. Okay. For more information, you can check out the UC admissions website. So with the CSUs, they've taken sort of a different approach. And interestingly, the CSUs historically have admitted students based on a formula that is based just on your GPA and your SAT or ACT scores. So that's how historically they've determined eligibility. But this coming year, they're not going to look at SAT or ACT scores at all. They won't even accept them. So students, so what they're going to do is students who have a 2.5 GPA or higher in 10th and 11th grade A to G courses will automatically meet the minimum eligibility requirements for admission. So basically what that means is if you have a 2.5 or higher, you will likely be admitted to San Francisco State, Cal State East Bay, and any other CSUs that admit students who meet the minimum criteria. Okay. Students with between a 2.0 to 2.49 might be evaluated on supplemental factors, so other factors. And this is completely new. This has never happened before, but they might be looking at the number of courses exceeding the minimum A to G requirement. So let's say you take a third year of world language or a third year of science, things like that. They might be looking at household income, extracurriculars. Each CSU is going to determine their own system for figuring that out. Another thing to know is that campuses or majors that are quote unquote impacted might have higher GPA thresholds for students. So just because you get a 2.5, it doesn't necessarily mean you can get into any CSU, right? Some have more qualified applicants than there's space for. So it really just depends. But either way, we really, again, encourage you to go to the Cal State website for details. And then finally, for the latest sort of updates to changes in college admission policies, we really, the sort of the Bible that you should go to is really each freshman admissions website for the most reliable updates, right? Like even some of the things that I've just shared could be subject to change, who knows? The National Association for College Admission Counseling, they're called NACAC. They also have released a college admission status update tool, and I'll show it to you real quick. But basically, they have a list of different institutions and any changes that they, like what they have decided in terms of SAT, ACT requirements and things like that. So if you're wanting to look at multiple colleges at once, you can check that out. Okay, so are there any questions that have come up so far? I don't know if I haven't been monitoring that, but maybe the panelists. Any questions so far?
There was a question for asking for GPA. Is it not each year has 2 letters per class? I'm not sure exactly what they meant.
So I'm not clear on that question either.
Yeah.
I mean, basically the UCs and CSUs will be looking at your grades from 10th grade, fall and spring, and 11th grade, fall, and then also any summer courses that you've taken in 10th and 11th grade. So those are the semesters that they're going to use to calculate your GPA. So mostly for the most part 3 semesters. There was a question about whether UCs and CSUs will take into consideration grades from the first semester of senior year, and typically they don't. Typically, students apply in late November, and by then, fall semester grades are not posted yet. So, but who knows, that could change for next year, but typically they do not look at senior grades, okay? Private colleges, on the other hand, often do like to see students' fall grades. So, good question. Okay, so next, I'm going to talk about the SAT and the ACT. Exciting stuff. So, so the ACT and SAT, they both test English, math, and then there's an optional writing portion. The ACT also has a science section. So there have been a lot of changes, unexpected changes to the SAT and ACT. Essentially, multiple exam dates since March have been canceled due to COVID. And so what they're thinking is this fall, both the SAT and ACT are thinking they may offer these exams online to be taken from home. And I have no idea how they're going to proctor that or ensure that students don't cheat, but I'm sure they're planning something. So, so that's something that you might be able to anticipate. They are also planning on adding additional dates. So normally in the fall they offer tests maybe once every other month, but it sounds like they're going to offer additional test dates since a lot of students didn't get to take the SAT or ACT this spring. There's also a lot of colleges that have announced changes to their testing requirements. And so, so I've included some slides, but again, these are based on data as of April 20th, so it's also subject to change. But there's 3 basic options that most colleges are going with. Okay, so option 1 is some colleges have decided that they're not going to require the SAT or ACT, but they'll still consider your scores if you submit them, okay? So this applies to all the UCs. Some examples of other colleges: University of Washington, University of Southern California, Santa Clara University. And in the majority of these cases, students who don't submit a score should not be harmed. So it's not supposed to hurt your application if you don't end up being able to take the test and submit your scores, okay? That said, if you do submit your scores and they're fairly good scores, you could still benefit and it could still strengthen your application. So the second option is that the SAT or ACT will not be required and will also not be considered if submitted. Okay, so this applies to the CSUs, like I mentioned earlier, as well as some privates like Bard. The Claremont colleges like Pomona, Claremont McKenna, it's a group of private colleges in SoCal. They've already said that they will not accept any versions of the SAT or ACT that are taken at home. And just because they're concerned about the security of those tests. So, so that's the direction that some other colleges are going to. And then option 3, there are some colleges that continue to require the SAT or ACT as of now. So again, this could change. But some examples are NYU, Purdue, Harvard, Pepperdine. So it's a little bit all over the map, right? So what should you do at the end of the day? What I would recommend is that, if you haven't taken the SAT or ACT yet, and you will apply to colleges that accept SAT or ACT scores, we recommend registering to take the SAT or ACT this fall. Okay, you basically don't have too much to lose. And for the UCs, they've also said that if you have low scores, it shouldn't harm you, but strong scores will offer for sure added value. So generally speaking, we probably recommend that most students should still plan to take the SAT or ACT, unless, for example, you're only going to apply to the CSUs and you already know that. All right. So some frequently asked questions about the SAT and ACT. So let's say you've already taken it, but you want to improve your score. And I get this question a lot. What happens if you score lower than the second time, right? What if you do worse the second time, okay? And really you don't have to worry about that. Colleges will always use the higher score, okay? So if you take it multiple times, it's okay to send all your scores. Colleges will use the highest scores. Should you take the optional essay portion? So that's a good question. Historically, the UCs have required the essay portion for the SAT or ACT, although again, it's not required this year. But if you are planning to apply to the UCs, I would recommend still taking the essay portion if you plan to take it, okay? Again, strong scores can only strengthen your application. Now, when will you be able to take the SAT or ACT? So as of now, the ACT is still offering a test on June 13th. I think they're being very optimistic, but who knows, maybe it'll happen. The deadline to register for that, if you're interested, is tomorrow, okay? And if for some reason they have to cancel it, I think the new date is going to be postponed to July. The SAT and ACT also have added, like I said, additional testing dates for the fall. If you have trouble affording the fees, we don't want that to be a barrier for your family because it does cost money to take these tests. So please email Ms. Murtaugh and we can try to get you a fee waiver so that you can take it for free, okay? Another great way to save money is to take advantage of these great online free test prep programs. So for the SAT, if you haven't done so already, so this is to all our juniors out there, if you haven't already, please go ahead and send your PSAT scores to Khan Academy. And if you do that, it will sort of create for you a personalized test prep program based on the areas you need to work on, okay? So it's really good. I've had many students who've actually raised their score by 100 to 150 points just by using Khan Academy. ACT test prep also has something similar, okay? All right, we're almost getting there, and then I'm gonna, I'll have another counselor take over. But I wanted to talk briefly about SAT subject tests. So what are SAT subject tests? They're basically 1-hour tests that allow students to demonstrate achievement in a specific subject. So beyond maybe just math or English. So it could be US history, you could take a test in chemistry or physics, and students can take up to 3 tests in one sitting. I think there's still plans to offer this SAT subject test in the fall, but maybe not for every date. But typically speaking, we would recommend students who are applying to selective colleges to take the subject tests, because there are some colleges that actually do require them, okay? Here's just a quick snapshot of upcoming dates and deadlines, upcoming SAT exams and ACT exams, as well as the links for where to register. An important thing about sending test scores. So we at Mills, we cannot send your test scores to colleges. The colleges are going to need official score reports from the SAT or ACT that it will be up to you to request them. Okay, we can't send them for you. If you want to save a little money on those score reports, here's a little money saving tip. You can actually send up to 4 score reports for free if you request them before you actually take the test. So if you already know which colleges you might apply to, we recommend going ahead and requesting those score reports now, and then you can save some money that way. One key thing to remember, you only need to send scores to one UC, okay? And they will automatically share with the rest. So you don't need to pay for extras, just send your scores to one UC. Okay, so I've talked a lot. Are there any questions that have come up? If not, then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Mao to talk about building a college list.
Oh, there's a question. How long is an SAT score valid?
How long are SAT scores valid for?
Mm-hmm.
I think indefinitely. I mean, you only need them, and through your senior year for the college application process. Usually, if you're a transfer student, they, for the most part, do not, like if you want to go to community college first and then transfer to a four-year college, typically they don't require SAT or ACT scores for that. So, yeah. Any other questions that might be good for the group? Not yet. Okay, so Ms. Mao, take it away.
Okay, so now we're going to go over how to create a college list. So the first thing we want to consider is what major or career that you wish to pursue. And I think about 2/3 of you have completed the career interest profiler in Naviance, but you can go over that again just to kind of get an idea of what you're interested in doing and pursuing. So this is basically showing you how to get to the Naviance, the Supermatch College search. And you are definitely encouraged to do this with your parents or just share with your parents your findings and stuff like that. So for the scattergrams, this is an example of basically showing you what is a likely school, a target school, or a reach school.
So yeah, I'm going to jump in here real quick, just to show you like a sample student. So if you log into Naviance, you can actually look at scattergrams. So the student, for example, is interested in UC Riverside. And if you click on the scattergram, what it does is it shows you all the students from Mills who have applied in the past and whether or not they got in based on their GPA and SAT scores. So, so this student, our sample student, is right here. Their GPA is about 3.5. They got a 1090 on their SAT. So you can see all the green check marks are students who were admitted, and the red X's are students who were not admitted. So you can see this might be a little bit of a reach for this student. So this is a great tool to kind of help you figure out if, if a college is a reach school, a target school, or a college that you're likely to get into.
So because right now you're not able to go visit colleges and do college tours, there's a lot of options for taking virtual campus tours. So if you visit uvisit.com, there's a lot of colleges that provide virtual tours, and you can even sign up for virtual tours. So there'll be like a person to go over the school and everything and show you around virtually. And there's also there's going to be virtual admission reps that will have like sessions for San Mateo Union High School District. And so this is a link, and you can see all the times that they'll be having their session, and then who's presenting, and how to get into the session. And then, so now to have a college list that's balanced, it is highly recommended to have 3 likely schools, 3 target schools, and 3 reach schools. So when we say likely, it means that your chances of getting in are above average. So I would say like in the 80%, like 80% chance that you'll get in. For target schools, it's like you're in the average of the students that have gotten in, so like 30 to 80%. And for reach schools are usually you're below average, so it's under 30%. So yeah, it's good to think about schools that not only you would like to go to, but like how realistic is it? Okay, so the goal is to find at least 1 or 2 colleges that you are likely to get into that you would be happy to attend. And some things to consider are such as like, what are you interested in and what majors the colleges are offering to you, and how you learn best. So there's quarter system versus semester system, and there's like the community and the learning environment. And how do you spend your free time, if it's in a city where there's a lot of things to do versus like a rural campus where you might have to figure out some other things to do, and also of course the cost. So yeah, just some things to consider.
And next, I think Ms. Laux will present on the college application process.
Thanks, Ingrid. Thanks, Ms. Mack. This is a slide that we've used from our previous presentations. And what I'm going to talk about in my portion of this is just sort of overview the college admissions process. And like I said, this slide here is a little bit different in our current situation, but they surveyed colleges across the US and said, hey, when a student's applying to your school, what are some of the most important factors? And the first thing they typically say is grades. But I think that this has changed a little bit because of a lot of schools going credit, no credit. So with absence of grades, they're also looking at the strength of your curriculum. Are you taking those classes that are generally preparing you for college success? And then so on. Then they're looking at ACT scores, essays, recommendation letters, demonstrated interest, class rank, and extracurricular activities. I always think that's interesting to point out. A lot of students think like, oh, I need to boost up my extracurricular activities. But if there is a place you want to spend a little more time on, it's some of these things up at the top of the list. Okay, next slide. So this is just an overview of different options you have for college and what items might be needed for the college application process. Generally speaking, for community college, once you've graduated, you just need to apply. Generally speaking, for CSUs, in the past, you would just do your online application. And on the application, you would be sharing your transcript or the grades that you've taken. And then they'd be looking at the ACT, SAT only. Now, it's mostly going to be the application and your transcripts. UCs are looking for the online application test scores, and there will be some essays. And then private colleges may look for all 5 things. They look for the application, that's potentially the test scores, depending on their individual policies, application essays, letters of recommendation, and official transcript. So, depending on where you're applying, you need to be aware of all the things you might need to get in order. And you can actually start some of those things soon. So senior year can be a little bit less stressed. Okay, these are just 2 websites where you can access applying to a lot of colleges. There's one application for the CSUs and the UCs, and then a lot of private colleges use Common Application. So I'd say many of our students are using all 3 of those or 1 or 2 of those to apply for college. The deadlines for college applications for the California public schools, the CSUs and UCs, is November 30th. Private college deadlines are going to vary a bit. Early applications are usually November 1st. I usually say to students, if you're thinking about applying to private schools and you want to apply early, you'll want to keep in mind getting your things together before Halloween. There's different application processes that some of the private schools have, where some of the deadlines might be a little bit earlier or even a little bit later. Regular decision typically is in December and January, and out-of-state public colleges vary. And typically when you're applying to community college, that's typically 2nd semester of senior year, in about mid-February to April, you're working on your applications for community college. Okay. So something you can actually be working on this summer is thinking about getting your essays done. I find that a lot of students senior year are very busy with their classes and activities that we're hoping to go back to. Thinking through the summer, maybe getting some of these essays written could really lighten your load so that you can focus on other things beginning senior year. So there are 4 personal insight questions. You have to answer 4 of 8 questions and 350 words or less. So you can actually go online and see what those questions are with this link here if you link to the presentation. Private colleges have a little bit different of a process. A lot of private colleges use Common App, which is one application that can go to multiple colleges. Some offer other options. You might see some other applications that look similar to Common App. We prefer the Common App when you have a choice. It's the easiest way for us to get all of our school materials bundled up nice and tidy and sent to your schools efficiently for you. If you're going to apply to private colleges, you must link your Naviance account to Common App so that we can submit all those things for you. Because there's some troubleshooting that we help with, it's actually not a difficult process, but we just want to make sure students who are applying to private colleges have all the information that they need. We offer an additional workshop during flex time in typically September to help students connect all of their Mills documents and make sure they've got all their teacher recs in order and how to link those properly to their common application. We help out students a lot with that. Okay. Private colleges will also be looking for the ACT essay reports, and again, with our current pandemic going on, that's it's going to vary college to college a little bit more than it has in the past. They're looking for a personal statement. So if you're thinking about applying to private colleges, there will definitely be some essays to write. And then some specific colleges have their own essay on top of the essay that you write for Common App, in addition to letters of recommendation and transcripts sent in advance. Okay. So the Common App has 7 different essay prompts to choose from. You need to choose one, and the essay prompts for the Common App are available on the Common App website. So if you're thinking about applying to private colleges, this is also something you could start working on this summer. Letters of recommendation. So we always want to point out for the UCs and CSUs, they do not require letters of recommendation. So if you are thinking about going to a community college or a UC or CSU, you don't need to worry about recommendation letters. But many private colleges require 1 to 2 teacher recommendations. We recommend that students request letters and ask teachers early in the fall semester. And Mills will give a maximum of 2 teacher recommendations per student. I always like to tell students when they're, thinking about having a teacher write them a recommendation, I always say, it's always good to ask a teacher in person. That's going to be a little bit different this year. So if you're working with a junior teacher this semester and you're thinking you might want to ask them for a recommendation letter for the fall, you might want to plant those seeds now. You might want to email them and give them a heads up. They might ask you to come back and ask them again in the fall, but given the way that we are learning this year, you might not get to know your first semester senior teachers as much, this next fall. So you might want to keep in mind who you might like to write those recommendation letters. Again, those are only for private schools that you would need to obtain those, and I would recommend checking in advance the colleges that you're thinking about applying to that you do need those as well. We do ask that students request recommendation letters at least 30 business days in advance. And there is actually a survey on Naviance that we're going to activate where we ask a bunch of questions about activities you've done and things that we can reference in your recommendation letter. We do that on Naviance. And this is also where you will request transcripts to be sent to each private school in Naviance as well. Some colleges also require a counselor letter of recommendation. You definitely want to check your admissions website. So you might need some from teachers, you might need some from counselors. Every school has their preference is a little bit different. But as counselors too, we can help you with that. If you're confused what you need, sometimes it can be confusing to sort out. We can definitely assist you in that process. So what we would like you to do is let us know in the fall. And what we'd like you to do is just schedule a letter recommendation meeting. We also have a parent input form. We get lots of really valuable insights from our parents to their student and their strengths. We actually have a form. It's optional. It's not required for a recommendation letter, but sometimes it really helps us see students through a different lens. So there's a MHS college counseling brag sheet for parents available on our school website. Okay. As for transcripts, students use Naviance to request official transcripts for colleges. Okay, so sometimes what students just will email their counselor and say, hey, can you send me a transcript somewhere? Our process is to go on Naviance and request it through there. And that's processed by our student data analyst. He's our school registrar, Mr. Carl. So the counselors don't actually process the transcript. So if you ever need something for a good driver's discount, he's your guy. He's going to help you out with that. But keep in mind that the UCs and CSUs do not require an official transcript at the time of application. What they do when you're applying is you have to input your grades from particularly your transcript, but you can access your transcripts and all the grades you've had in high school on our ARIES portal. So you'll be using your ARIES portal to enter your grades right onto your UC and CSU applications. If you are thinking about playing a sport in college, specifically a Division I or Division II sport, and what you'll need to do is register on the Eligibility Center. And what they'll be looking for, especially for the juniors in the room here, is to send your 8th semester transcript either at the end of junior year or right at the beginning of senior year. And they'll use your grades and such to determine eligibility for athletics, which can help with the recruiting process as well. So definitely, if you're thinking about playing a Division I or Division II sport in college, talk to your counselor because we can give you some more insight into the steps to take to get you ready for eligibility. So this is just a sort of a scorecard of what you should be doing and when. I'd say right now, juniors, really now is your research time. I really like that new tool that Ms. Mao shared, where you can visit, do virtual college visits. My guess is it's going to continue to be limited this summer, what you can see over the summer. Typically, we'd be telling students to take the ACT, SAT. If you haven't, we'll have to see as those updates continue, but that might be a good option to do the ACT, SAT from home that they're offering. The summer, continue to do something enriching, consider starting on your application essays, continue to prep for the ACT, SAT if it's needed. And then in September, you'd be finalizing your college list, you'd be requesting letters of recommendation, as well as in October of senior year, submitting your financial aid applications, in addition to applying to colleges in November. And then December is typically the last chance to take ACT, SATs. That's the typical process that we've used for a lot of years. It'll be interesting to see if there are any changes to this moving forward. And we will have, another night in the fall to help y'all with this process. It'll be live. Instead of talking about doing it, y'all will be starting to do it, and you may have more questions, and we want to support you in that process. So we plan to have a senior college info night this September, in addition to financial aid planning night as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Vasquez to talk about financial aid.
Ms. Vasquez, do you need to unmute?
Whoops. Sorry about that. I was so excited to get started. So what I was saying was there's a lot of good information I'm going to dive in about some highlights about financial aid, all right? So this chart breaks down the 4 systems of college and breaks down the different areas that you will be spending your money on when your student is attending college. So you can see over on the far right of your screen, the private colleges are the most expensive, where the community colleges are the least, with the breakdown there. Next slide. All right, so in financial aid, there's different categories. Grants and scholarships are free money. There's need-based grants or scholarships, so that's determined by family income, or the merit-based scholarship, which is determined by your students' accomplishments, GPA, community service, things like that. The self-help loans, you do have to pay back. They are given through the federal government, so they will have a little less interest rate than your private bank loans. And then work study is, for example, getting a job on the college campus. So how do you apply for financial aid? So this is very important for our juniors. You can start applying as early as October. So one of the first things you need to do is both the parent and the student need to create a student ID, all right? And then you can see the website on our slide. And again, the website to apply for the financial aid application is also on our slide, and you can start as early as October 1st using your 2019 income information. So in addition to using the financial aid application, there's also some private colleges that also may require what's called the CSS profile. So that's a different financial aid application that is important that you look on each college financial aid website to see if your college you're applying to does require the CSS profile. Fee waivers. Fee waivers are very important as well. For some qualifying students, you may request a fee waiver if you qualify for free or reduced lunch. This fee waiver can recover ACT, SAT registration fees, college application fees, transcript requests, NCAA registration, CSS profile. So you can see if you qualify for free and reduced lunch by applying during registration at the beginning of the year, or it is on our Mills High School website. You can apply at any time for free and reduced lunch. For more information about the fee waivers, please see Ms. Murtaugh or your counselor. All right, I just wanted to add regarding financial aid, there's a lot more information to be covered with financial aid, but due to the time that we're trying to keep it at, we added some extra slides at the bottom of our presentation so you can take a look. Resources. So let's go over some resources. What we're hoping for in the fall is that we will be in classrooms again, presenting to our seniors in mid-September, going over the application process in more detail. We also have a college information night for seniors. We have visits from college reps that come on campus. Right now they're all online. We're hoping that they will be back on our campus one day. We'll have fall college workshops that cover the Common App, UC and CSU application, personal statement workshop, all kinds of fun stuff. So we'll be doing that all in the fall. And of course, we'll do a Cash for College financial aid workshop too, where we go in more detail about how to apply to financial aid. So how else can we support you during this college process? We can advise you on college lists. So please send your counselor an email or Ms. Murtaugh an email to make an appointment with us, and we can work with you on creating a college list. We can answer your questions about applications and financial aid. We support you in submitting your private college application materials. recommendation letters. Some of your private colleges will ask for a counselor letter recommendation. So we do ask that you come see us in person if you can, or send us an email, and we can talk in more detail about what that could look like. Also, of course, Ms. Murtaugh, again, our college and career advisor, she schedules the visits for the college reps, organizes the college application workshops, coordinates the scholarship opportunities that are available, and is always available for college application and financial aid questions. Some additional resources, if you haven't checked out our Mills Counseling newsletter that we sent out a couple weeks ago, there's a lot of fun information on there. As you can see, an enrollment for community college, updates for juniors, new highlights. So check it out. We do have remind texts for our seniors. Check your emails, please. I know we're all online right now, so continue to check your emails, as that's where we send out our announcements and updates. And our PTO newsletter for parents out there, if you haven't signed up to receive the PTO newsletter, we encourage you to do so. We always have a counselor connection section there with some updates. The Mills Counseling website, we also we have a lot of our presentations that will include this will be on our Mills Counseling website, and more updates. We also have a recommended reading called Admission Matters, what students and parents need to know about getting into college. So check that out. So so soon, if not probably by tomorrow, by the end of the week, which is tomorrow, Friday, okay, we will be sending a link of this presentation. We'll send out the junior summer to-do list and the scholarship list for you all. And let's see, how can parents support your students? We recommend speaking with your student about paying for college. So having these conversations that you may not be used to having, right? Talking about money and what that's going to look like for your family. What can you afford? Collaborate with your student on developing a well-rounded college list. Visit campuses together. Now that we are online together, you can view colleges together, sit down and open up that computer and check things out together. Help research scholarship opportunities on our website, and our other various scholarship links that are available. And also complete the parent input form for the counselor recommendation letters. Again, that's on the Mills Counseling website, which is optional but very helpful, as well as counselors are writing recommendation letters for your students. All right, so we have reached the end of our information portion of our night, but don't go anywhere because we want to play Kahoot with you. So grab your cell phone and log in to kahoot.it and enter the PIN. And we're going to play Kahoot. So we'll wait a minute. We'll let you log in. Thank you for playing with us. Thank you for having some fun. This is our favorite part of the presentation, is the Kahoot. Sorry we don't have prizes for you this time. We'll make it up to you, I promise. We'll have extra prizes the next time we are all sitting together in the auditorium in some form. All right, 18 players, 19 players. We have 118 participants. So we're gonna wait a little bit to see if we can get a little bit more players logged in. Thank you for keeping the names appropriate. All right, 40 players. All right, can we hear the music or not?
Can everyone hear the music?
Turn it up. 55 players. We're moving along. We got 116 participants out there live in their households.
And we do recommend you'll need to play using your cell phone. I think it would be too hard to have a separate window open in your browser. So just go to the browser on your cell phone, go to kahoot.it to join us for this fun game. All right, are we ready?
Let's do it. We're up to 63 players, 64
All right.
players, 65.
The code will still be at the bottom of the screen for those of you who are still logging in, okay? But the first one we're starting with, the first question is just for practice, okay?
It's no points.
So you're gonna match the answer.
Yes, so our practice question is, what is this a photo of? Say Sony Walkman, a Sony Discman, Sony cassette deck, or a Sony MP3 player. All right, Sony Walkman. Good job, Lucky Lobster. All right, what is the average acceptance rate across all four-year colleges? Now, I don't know if we covered this in our
we didn't cover this.
Okay, so
try your best guess.
Yes. Try your best guess. All right, 65% is the average acceptance rate across all four-year colleges. All right. All right, what is the Western Undergraduate Exchange? Now, this is something else we didn't cover in our presentation, but it's very important that you do know what the Western Undergraduate Exchange is, also known as WUI. And let's see if anyone, how many of you know? Yes, it's a scholarship program for out-of-state public colleges, which allows you to pay in-state tuition. So there's over 150 colleges that participate under this scholarship.
Yeah, so this is a great program that if you are open to going out of state for college, it can be really, really affordable to actually go to, like Washington State, Arizona State, University of New Mexico. Sometimes it's actually more affordable than going to the UCs. And they're also, some of those colleges are easier to get into than some of our colleges here in California because they're not quite as crowded, so.
Right. All right, what is the name of the college search tool in Naviance that helps students find a good fit? I know we went over this one. Was it the Naviance Super Match, Naviance College Navigator, Naviance Big Future College Search, Naviance Data Match? What is it? Yes, Naviance Super Match. All right, which colleges require transcripts and recommendation letters as part of the application? Very important to know. Don't get confused here on this one. Ms. Laux went over this one. Yes, it's only the private colleges that require the transcripts and recommendation letters as part of the application. All right, students requesting recommendation letters must do which of the following? Ask in person at least 30 business days in advance. Request official transcripts to be sent. Complete letter of recommendation survey in Naviance. All the above. All right, juniors, what is it? All the above. Thank you for listening. All right, which of the following is recommended for juniors on our application timeline for summer? Do something enriching, prep for the ACT, SAT if needed maybe, start working on application essays, all the above. So yes, all the above. A lot to keep you busy this summer, juniors. All right, which website uses your PSAT scores to provide free, personalized SAT test prep? Is it the psatprep.org, thinktank.com, khanacademy.org, sat.org? Don't forget this one. Yes, khanacademy.org. Check it out for that free SAT help.
Last question.
Woo, last question. What is the name of our student data analyst who sends transcripts? Must be Andre Agudala. I knew it. Gabe Glenn, Israel, Carl.
I think it's Andrea Iguodala.
It's Carl. Don't forget Mr. Carl Steinbrecher. All right, thank you for playing, everyone. We owe you some prizes next time we see you in person. I promise. All right, Ms. Mack.
All right, good job, Dazzled Giraffe.
Woo, number one, thank you.
All right. So I think that's pretty much wraps up our evening. Thanks so much to everybody for coming, for joining us. Again, this presentation is on our College and Counseling website. There are probably about 24 slides that we normally include that we didn't have time for tonight, and so I think it probably is worthwhile checking those slides out just to see, well, there's some other information that's nice to know that we just that we didn't have time for tonight. But if you ever have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us. Email your counselor, email Ms. Murtaugh. We are here for you. We're still working. We may not be physically at school, but we're here to support you. So thanks so much and take care. Good night.
Yes, take care. Thank you for joining us tonight. We miss seeing you.